Hey everyone, and welcome to ScrapbookPal's YouTube channel. It's Gina here with you today to share a colorful slimline card featuring my favorite things, You're My Jam stamp set. I went ahead and stamped all the images in this set on Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock with Gina K Designs Obsidian black ink so I could color them up with my go-to coloring medium Copic markers. For this card, I thought that it would be really cute to have them in a little parade line. I know that we haven't really seen parades this year, and I think that they are just so fun. It reminds me of summertime, and you guys see all these different bands and little showcases and floats and flowers and all the fun things. So I thought it would be super adorable. Of course, this isn't my typical scene card because it is a little abstract. As you saw in the finished card at the beginning of the video, it is upon a rainbow background. For my coloring itself, I am just going in kind of assembly line style, so anytime I'm using a particular color combination, I'm going to color up every area that will use the same one, and that just generally saves you time from opening and closing Copic markers, and I find it really useful. It's not as frustrating to have to pick up the same colors as well. So for my Copic coloring, I go in with my darkest shade and I will put it down wherever I think the shadows will be. I'll take the medium color and blend it out, leaving a little bit of white space. And for my last lightest color, I will go ahead and color up the entire area. For the bear and the bunny, I actually went in with even darker color and I just added a little bit of a line where I wanted the darkest shadow to be. And this kind of just emphasized the dimension on the critters, and I think that it really helps. I don't think it's something necessary for anyone to do, but I just thought it just needed a little bit more dimension, and just going in with a very dark color and adding that little line really makes a difference, at least to me. For the turtle, I kind of had trouble coloring up the turtle. I actually go back to coloring him twice because I thought his shell was a little light, and I don't know why. I just have trouble coloring turtles because I think that there should be a difference between his body and his shell, and I decided that, I just wanted to go in and color it a little bit better. Of course, for all the colorings, I kind of went with normal realistic colors, and that's my tendency to do. I have a hard time switching to different colors that you wouldn't really normally see in animals. I have a hard time coloring them in rainbow colors, and that's probably generally why I use a lot of rainbow backgrounds, because I tend to stick with realistic coloring and then a bright background for the animals. I also incorporated some yellow because of that bird that sits on top of the bear, and usually for my coloring I try to incorporate all the different colors within the images, and that way your card stays cohesive because you're not pulling from random colors. At least that works for me. So I use the yellow that I use for the bird for the flute, and the little thing the porcupine is holding, I don't even know what it's called, but it was going to be colored in gold. I also incorporated some bits of red and blue and black, and that is seen with the bear holding the drum set, the turtle's hat, as well as the little flag the porcupine is holding, and I thought that just brings everything together. I chose more bold colors because it's going to have to be bold to stand out against a rainbow background. That's why I picked those colors. Usually I would go with bright, fun, like pink colors, but that's why I went with those. For my slimline, I actually went ahead and cut down an inch strip of the Gina K Masking Magic, and that's because I wanted to mask off about an inch at the bottom of the slimline panel, and this will be the road that the critters walk on. I am doing this because I'll be doing some ink blending at the top portion of the slimline panel using distressed oxide inks. So I decided to do kind of a wavy rainbow, and I wasn't really sure how this was going to work out, and thankfully it did. I am going in with picked raspberry first, and going in rainbow order, I went with spiced marmalade, squeezed lemonade, Mermaid, Lagoon, and Mowed lawn. I actually wanted to add in a little bit of wilted violet, but the space just didn't allow it. So some of my Distress Oxide inks are kind of dry, so I struggled with the blend. I am blending on Gina's Solar 80-pound cardstock, and normally it blends really, really well. But when we get to the green, you'll see that it is dry, so I really need to get a refill for that so I can re-ink that up. These colors normally blend really well. I have been using the Distress Oxide inks more so recently. I have no idea why. I just have been kind of gravitating towards them instead of my Distress inks, which is really weird. I think that they're just really fun. As you can see, the green is a little choppy and I wasn't able to blend it out smoothly because my ink pad is dry. We can fix that by just adding splatter to it and the critters, and it will look all great. So whenever I have a bad blend with my inks, I will go ahead and add splatter. First, I'm going in with water because these inks are water reactive, so you'll start to see the little droplets on the background, and I think that just takes away from the not so great blend that I have going on. And trust me, this card turns out really cute, so I'm happy with how it turned out, even though this blending wasn't 100% perfect. I also decided to add a bit more shimmer, so I went and grabbed my Perfect Pearls, mixed it up with water, and I will be splattering it all over this card panel as well. This will just add to the distraction of the not so great blend, and I think it just looks great. So you don't really notice that part of it once everything is put together, and it's a great way to distract. Splatter is your friend. I have them all lined up, and that's where I want them to be. I thought the bottom part of the slimline card was a little plain, so I decided to pull out the musical notes and stamp them all over that bottom portion. So kind of like they're walking on a musical road. Usually they would be up on top above them, so it shows that music is playing, but I think that part is pretty obvious since they have these instruments. So I used that Gina K Masking Magic just to mask off the top portion of the slimline card because I didn't want the musical notes on the colorful portion of the card. And I went and filled up all those little empty spaces at the bottom of the card with those musical notes, and I thought that was super cute. So once I finish that, I will be going ahead and adhering all the characters to the card, and I just do this with liquid glue. I am using Honeybee Precision Glue for gluing these critters down, and I just thought it was really easy to do. I didn't want to deal with double-sided adhesive. Liquid glue is usually the easiest thing to use, especially if they have little parts. For all these critters, I actually don't have the coordinating dies, so I just went ahead and cut them with a pair of scissors. I will actually leave the link to the coordinating dies at the bottom. I didn't really think about it when I had purchased this set because I normally fussy cut, but the artist for these particular images, it's very sketchy, and so there's like extra lines, and so I just went ahead and fussy cut it. So once I adhered all the little critters to the slimline card, I pulled out my cool grays to add a bit of shadow at the bottom of their feet, just so they look grounded and it looks like they're walking. For the sentiment itself, I'm going to stamp and heat emboss on black cardstock, so I prep the area with my anti-static powder tool and stamp with Versamark ink. I will be using Gina K's white embossing powder for this. It is detailed, so you can see these sentiments are really thin. Once I cover it with white embossing powder, I will go ahead and heat set with my heat gun. Once my sentiment is done, I will go ahead and cut it down to a stripe. I popped it up on a piece of foam tape just to add a bit of dimension. Use my T-roller to make sure that I place it lined up. For this card, I actually decided that I wanted to incorporate a little bit more black because of the sentiment that is on this card, so everything looks a little bit more cohesive. So I just trimmed down about 1/4 of an inch on the bottom of the card because that just had more room to play with, and I will be matting it on a piece of black cardstock. I do use my Misty to help me line it up because slimline cards are so hard to line up because they are so long. So it's really helpful to go ahead and remove one of the adhesive backings from my double-sided Scor-Tape and then press it down, and then I can remove the rest of it. And that's just my little trick of lining everything up, and this card turns out so pretty and happy, and you can barely notice that my inking wasn't 100% perfect. So that's it for today's card, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye!